Welcome to Monkeys Unfiltered, the podcast where chaos meets conversation, and the unexpected is always on the menu. Join hosts Leanne, Jason, and Hayden as they swing through life's absurd, hilarious, and thought-provoking moments. No topic is too wild, no opinion is too untamed. Get ready for unfiltered banter, laughs, and a barrel of fun. This is Monkeys Unfiltered.
Once upon a time, nestled deep within the lush foliage of the jungle, there lived three curious monkeys: Mama Monkey, Middle Monkey, and Youngest Monkey. Every week, these adventurous primates would gather around the mic to embark on their own special adventure, recording their very own podcast. With tails swaying and bananas in hand, this mischievous group comes together to brainstorm topics and discover new ways to present their little podcast to the world. Despite their small audience, the monkeys dreamed big. They knew that with determination and a dash of monkey magic, the whole world would one day know all about Monkeys Unfiltered. There would be fans near and far, listeners who tune in faithfully every week, and even those who became so obsessed they joined the ever-growing troop of monkey enthusiasts. But alas, this fairy tale ending is still far in the future, so for now, hello and welcome to another episode of Monkeys Unfiltered. I'm Mama Monkey, and with me I have Middle Monkey and Youngest Monkey. And today, we're going to share some of our nerdy obsessions. I promise there'll be a few stories and a few laughs, so be sure you stick around. So let's get this party started. How are you guys?
I'm not a nerd. Don't call me a nerd.
Say you were a nerd. I said we nerd
You
out.
implied.
Well, I'm okay with being a nerd.
I'm 100% a nerd without question.
No, I am a nerd.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to argue with you, but he's definitely a nerd.
I'm not as big a nerd as him, but I'm a nerd.
I accept that.
I mean, are we talking about in stature or like just in level of nerdiness? What are we talking about here? Because there could be an argument made there.
I would say like level of nerdiness.
I don't know. You're pretty nerdy.
I do not stack up to other nerds. So I've stated this before. I know a little bit about almost anything, but not a lot about any one thing. So, like, there are plenty of nerds who, like, specify or, like, specialize, I should say. And, like, they can, like, wreck me on anything that I'm a fan of. Guaranteed someone else knows way more than I do.
Listen, when we were on our trip, we were playing a Sporkle quiz that you weren't even participating in. And I pride myself in knowing a lot about Star Wars. And it was like a quiz where, like, it was progressively getting harder to name these people from the Star Wars movies. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't know, X-Wing fighter number 1. Oh, that's blah, blah, blah.
It's Wedge Antilles.
Oh, that's blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I was just like, how do you know these people's names? Do they even say them in the movies?
Oh, yeah. Plus, I read a lot of the books now, so.
Right. So, I mean, you know a lot about that.
Yeah, but even at that, like, I still have a limited. So, like, sometimes I watch Star Wars Explained, and, like, bro. There's so much stuff I don't know. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Like the guy.
Y'all sound like a couple of nerds to me.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, he makes like these recaps. Like I think every year he goes back and recaps from like the very beginning. Instead of the Jedi when they were first like formulated, it's the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which obviously is different, but it's like 10,000 years ago, and then he goes all the way to like current events. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say Star Wars is something y'all nerd out over?
100%.
Both of you, 100%?
Perfect.
Well, Hayden, we absolutely, yes. I get it with you. I get it with you.
Yeah, I've got this giant poster and a lightsaber.
Well, yes, the lightsaber I'm familiar with. I was there when you built it. Okay, so I was kind of thinking maybe we could share our top 3 since we're all such nerds. Maybe we share our top 3 nerdy things and, you know, give the reasons why we are nerdy over those things.
Well, there would really only be one reason, right? Like it's cool.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Or
okay.
entertaining or whatever.
I'm down with that because it's cool. I don't know. Like when
Is it okay if we have some overlaps with each other?
Well, clearly, because y'all just overlap.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, like, if there's something on my list that you might have on your list.
For some reason, Hayden, I don't really foresee our list overlapping. Do you?
No, but I'm just saying, like. All right, well, how about you start us off then, Mom, since
I
we
will.
both clearly nerd out over Star Wars.
I think
will
we
be-
started it all.
Right. I think y'all just jumped in there and ran. Okay, so when I think about the top 3 things that I nerd out over, and the 2 of you are going to go, yeah. And my husband would probably be like, uh-huh. And anybody who's ever been in a restaurant with me will know that I nerd out over tiny cutlery. Like the little baby spoons you get in a coffee shop with your espresso, or little tiny salt and pepper shakers, or little tiny creamer things on a breakfast table somewhere. Yeah. And so I
Isn't
nerd out.
Nan guilty about just swiping a few of those?
Well, I don't know about that, because here's what I'm going to say. I used to nerd out over it so hard that I had to have them, right? So you could be sitting at the breakfast table. In fact, Jason, I think this happened one time when you were home for a visit, and you guys were probably leaving, headed back to Alabama. We went to breakfast somewhere, and there was a little tiny creamer thing on the table. And when you came back for it, you're like, what happened to the creamer? And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Dude, I remember, I think, and again, statute of limitations, whatever. So Nan took, like, I don't know, the freaking skillet that
Yes.
the queso used to come in at Chili's
At
or something like
Chili's.
that. Like,
Yes,
what are you
yes.
doing?
Well, and I will
Like a tiny cast iron
How do you
skillet.
how do you
Right.
even take that thing if it's got queso in it?
Oh, you wipe it out. Yeah.
excuse me, waitress, can we get some extra napkins?
They're like $6 at Walmart.
Right. I mean, like, I have a collection of little tiny espresso spoons, little tiny collection of espresso cups. I may or may not have the little creamer pot. I probably have some sugar dispenser my husband thought was cool one time when we were in Savannah.
Well, you took a giant, like, steak knife from
I was just
Stonewood.
I need to say my biggest coup. He and I were at dinner at Stonewood one night, and I was like, ooh, he said, I really like these knives. And I start wrapping them up in the napkin, and he's
Enough
like, what?
said.
Yeah, he's like, what the hell are you doing? Oh my God, don't do that. They're gonna know. And I'm like, they're not gonna know.
Let them find
I
out.
feel like
How would they know?
I was gonna say, I feel
They're
like
not gonna know.
that yeah. How are they gonna know? Anyways, I start wrapping them up. Well, he makes me feel really guilty, so I don't, right? And so then on one trip to another restaurant that had very similar knives, I collected a set of 8. But I will confess, that is the last thing I lifted, because that is wrong, because it is stealing, and that is wrong. And I kept trying to tell myself, but it's just a little tiny spoon. Who's gonna know? But now, I'm lifting entire sets of gourmet knife. Like, no. And that was years and years and years ago.
Jeez.
I mean, we all have a past we have to answer for.
Well, yes, and I've made my peace with it, but still, I just think all the little time. And I'm that one when I walk through the store or whatever. Like if you're walking through like a discount store or something, you pass through the baby section. I'm like, oh, look at these little tiny shoes, or oh, look at this little anything that is tiny. I kind of nerd out over it. I find myself like in Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and they have like the little tiny fairy village things. Like I can't bring myself to spend my money on that, but in the store I set them all up in a little scene. I go, look how cute they are. They're so little. Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm that weirdo.
What's something on your list, Jason?
Obviously we've discussed Star Wars. But honestly, like my major obsession for like the last 10 years has been Destiny, the whole Destiny franchise. So there's 2 separate games. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they were published by Activision, whom everyone hates. But kind of odd, because we had Destiny and then we moved into Destiny 2. Then it just became like Destiny 2 forever. So it's like, why can't we just rebrand that back to Destiny?
What about Destiny's Child? No Destiny's Child?
But man, no Destiny's Child. So the storyline for this game like started out just super atrocious. Like it was terrible, because 3 months before release, they had to like completely rewrite everything, because they had this grand story, this amazing, like cinematically just genius, well thought out story. And then there was some dispute. Like the higher ups saw what had been put together and they were like, oh, this is really stupid, you know? And so I guess the guy who like written most of this stuff, like I don't know this to be exact facts, so don't quote me on it, but as far as I know, the writer of that story was like, well, I mean, this is what I got for you. So they took elements of that story and had to completely make something up essentially from scratch 3 months from release, which if you know anything about game development time is like a second.
Yeah, it
There's not
takes
a lot of time.
years.
Right. And so somehow, because this game had such great like gameplay, the gunplay was really good. It just felt good to play in this environment, even though the story was utter garbage. Somehow it captivated thousands and thousands of people. And I've been there like from the very beginning, and just to watch this story develop into something that it is now has been incredible. There's so many like content creators around it, people who talk about new news or like new updates and whatever. Because like this game has become something totally different than when it started, and like it's kind of lost me to a degree because they set up this whole like mod system where you can like play very specifically, and I'm like, just let me loose. You know, I don't need to do a whole bunch of reading to see how this thing works with this thing. I just can't keep up.
I feel like every video game's getting to that point.
Yeah, it's very
So-
discouraging.
But okay, because I'm not a video game player.
What?
All right, I know. Shocker.
What?
Newsflash. I mean, I've kept it from you guys for so long, but
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
I gotta come clean. So I mean, you know, if I do play a video game, it's well, we've talked about before. It was Mortal Kombat, but I can't even play that now because my husband ruined it. But anyway, so what is it about those kind of games that attract you to them that make you, you know, quote unquote nerd out over them?
Dopamine.
Well, yeah,
Oh.
100%. Like not
I was like, what? Dope? What?
Just
I'm sorry,
when
what
you-
are we talking about?
when you get down to the baseline of it, yeah, it just stimulates monkey brain and like you just enjoy having a good time or whatever. Like there's a huge social aspect to the game. Like you're meant to find other people and play with them. So it's a community growing environment. Like I said, the gameplay just feels good.
Okay, wait.
And
Can I ask a question?
sure.
You just said something though. So while you're playing this game, it's like with other people you don't know?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's an environment of the game, right? But it's hosted across like so many servers. So like a server can only hold X number of people at any given time. So when you
Mhm.
drop into a certain scenario or instance, you're dropping in with like a select number of other people
Mhm.
who are also like trying to accomplish their own goals or whatever. So you're meant to like build relationships and then do maybe some of the harder stuff with
Oh,
them.
okay. I didn't know that. I learned it.
Yeah, it's really fun. Not all games are like that. Like recently, though, maybe within the last 5 or 10 years, you used to be able to like just play video games, right? So you'd buy a game, you'd play the storyline, beat it within like 2 to 10 hours, and then like just be
Right.
done. Like and just buy a new video game. Now, what they're doing is what's called the live service model. A lot of games are moving to where the same game can be live, like Destiny has been for like up to 10 years.
Oh,
And so, yeah, we've just played in the same environment for this long.
well, I learned something new.
Until they decide one day that they want to move on to the next project and want to shut down those servers, and the hundreds of dollars or whatever that you've sunk into that game and the time are just
Or
gone.
thousands of hours for that matter.
Yeah, and the time.
And all your relationships, it's like throwback to when we talked about living in a simulation or having a
right.
conspiracy
So-
theory. Like your world is just ripped away from you?
No, well, yeah, the world might disappear, but the relationships you build last, right? So, like,
Right.
I met everyone I play with. I met in Halo 4. So I was in a gaming community back then, and I met like so many great people. As a matter of fact, the relationships I built from playing Halo 4 led to 2 of those people being in my wedding.
Right. Yeah, right.
'Cause-
See,
and
Mhm.
ironically, it was the first time I met them in person.
right.
so it's
I
kinda
remember. I
strange.
was kind of like, and if you
I was in the like beginning part of when that was just becoming a thing.
right, and if you remember the look on my face, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Who? Well,
Yeah.
I'm what?
Cheyenne's best friend lives in Maryland, so I mean,
Yeah.
Right. And so like this is one of those things we talk about sometimes. This is like a really marked difference between, even though you guys are like millennials, Zers, whatever, this is where you guys both fall on the same side and I'm on the other side. Like this is the break between generational.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, because I just sit here going, what? But
See,
that's cool.
I hate. I sorry to get off topic, but like I hate that whole generation thing. Like
Right.
how he's a millennial and I'm a Z and
Yeah,
you're
I
an
hate
X
that
or
too.
whatever. But it's like I'm so early on in Gen Z, but I'm too late to be considered a millennial. But like I grew up with the same things that millennials claim to have grown up with, like go outside and play until the streetlights come on, because there is no online video gaming at the time.
Right.
Like I remember that kind of stuff, and I remember like AOL dial-up and
Yeah.
home phones.
I'm on the
But
cusp
it's like,
too.
oh, you're a Gen Zer. You don't know anything. You don't know what
Right.
it's like.
Well, but I agree with you on that, and you're right. We're getting off topic, but that's okay. I too am on the cusp, so I kind of relate to what you're talking about. But I also think part of the reason why you guys have kind of that crossover experience, I think it's all about how you're raised, right?
Mhm.
So you guys were raised in an environment where your parents provided experiences or forced you to participate in things that gave you an experience, that give you that kind of knowledge that maybe you would not have if your upbringing had been different. But anyways, all right, Hayden, what do you nerd out over?
So I feel like I can't include F1 on my list because there's a whole episode about that.
Yes.
Go listen to that episode if you want to know more about that.
Yeah, I teach these two knuckleheads all about it.
Listen to
But
Hayden squeal like a little girl.
but I mean, if there is one sport that I enjoy more than that, it's football in the NFL. I'm not too into like college football that much. Like I'll pay attention to people when it comes time to like the draft that just happened recently.
Right.
But like other than that, it's really just the NFL for me. I've tried watching the CFL, not the CFL, what is it? The UFL?
UFL, AFL.
Yeah, the
There's been a
UFL
couple of them
recently. And it's cool. I like the level of access that they give you in it. But no, the NFL, I mean, I play this game with Cheyenne all the time where I'm like, give me some position on a team and I could probably name that person for you.
It's like you in geography.
Right. It's like, okay, who's the Minnesota Vikings number 2 wide receiver, And I'm just like, bam.
Who's the left tackle for Green Bay?
Left tackle, it was David Bakhtiari, but they just cut him, so I don't know anymore.
Well, and also, you could literally say like Garth Brooks, and I wouldn't know the difference. So this is the subject where I check out like Mom did last subject.
Jason is like, I mean, his eyes gloss over. He's totally like, I'm sorry, who? What kind of sport ball?
Yeah,
sport ball. Yeah, score a goal basket unit.
Yeah,
because
go team.
You're into football too, Mom, but I mean, I don't think you're into it at the same level that I'm at.
So here's what I will say. I've been into football like for a long, long time, right? And then growing up where I grew up, did you know, Hayden, we just had the 30-year anniversary of the Jaguars?
Yeah, that's this year.
For me, when I think back about that, because I saw that the other day, as we were leading up to the draft or whatever, I noticed that and I was like, wow, 30 years. And I could remember where I was when it came out on the front of the, get this, printed newspaper, because who does that anymore, right? When it came out on the front of the printed newspaper that we had been selected, and because we were such an underdog to get that team, and just how excited the city was. And I think back to myself, wow, 30 years ago, and where was I and what was I doing? But prior to that, the closest NFL team for us was none of them were any good. Tampa, Atlanta, or Miami.
Tampa and Miami used to be good.
Right, but not 30 years ago.
But yeah.
But so I grew up on college ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is where I kind of connect to sports, because I love football and I love baseball, and it is a hard rub for me for which one I love the most, because they feed very different parts of my brain. Baseball is a very not that football players are dummies, but baseball is a very strategic, the strategy in baseball is very different than in football.
Yeah.
And whereas football is just run them over and score, right? And in
See,
baseball, it's like, don't touch the other dude.
I had the unfortunate, like, I played football and baseball growing up,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
enjoyed playing baseball a lot more than I enjoyed playing football, but I enjoyed watching football more because I had the unfortunate circumstance of growing up during a period of the MLB where it was in a decline.
Yeah.
Because it was
They were coming off
boring
of
for
players. Well, they were also coming off a players strike.
Yeah, I mean, like, for a lack of a better word, it was just boring to watch because they were 3.5, 4-hour games of
Right.
nothing happening. And in recent years, they're addressing that, and they're speeding up the game, and there's more action, more scoring, that kind of stuff. But it's like, I'm just too far past it. I'm more into this now.
Right.
you
No, I
know?
got you. But you said something interesting about how, like, you weren't into collegiate ball. That's what I grew up on. And so
Mhm.
that's how I learned football. Baseball was at the college level. Baseball, again, not a lot of access to great MLB teams where we lived. And so I get really attached to a player and will
Yeah.
follow them from team to team to team, where I know, like, for you with football, it's all about the team.
It's Jaguars nothing. Duel till we die, baby.
Boy, it was always us.
It was always the Jags.
Yeah, but it used to be Green Bay till I die.
Well,
It
I
did
wouldn't
used to
say
be. You're
I
right.
wouldn't say it's Green Bay until I died, but I was an Aaron Rodgers fan while he was there. I was always a
Oh.
Jaguars fan.
Okay, tell the whole truth. You like Clay
No,
Matthews'
no.
hair.
I did like Clay Matthews too, but I've always been a Jaguars fan. But
Yeah.
being younger, it's hard to be a fan of a team that never wins because as a kid, you always want to root for the winning
You
team.
want to be a winner, right?
And then so
That's where all the Patriots fans came from.
one of my first football teams that I ever played on was the Packers because my coach was a Packers fan. And so I just kind of gravitated that way. And I really liked Aaron because he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And so I was
Now
just
he's
like,
just a weirdo.
right. And so now I'm still, always have been, always will be a Jags fan, even if they move to London, which they won't, but still.
All right.
Yeah, I pig skin like oblong object, like go downfield, put ball in place, and yeah.
Right.
There you go. You got it. That's the essentials. Yep.
Right. And it's interesting, whereas, like, I will watch any sport that has, a aggressive format for offense, defense. Like right now, my husband's like he's the same way. He'll watch any kind of sport. So golf is on TV a lot at our house right now. I don't care to watch the whole tournament, but like on Sunday afternoon when they're down to the last 4 holes, I'll sit down. Like, I watch the end of the Masters. I'll watch the end of the TPC.
Because it gets tense.
Right. Because I want to, okay, well, yeah, you've been playing great ball or, great golf, whatever. But I'll watch just about anything, but it's for you, Hayden, it's totally football. So what's your best football memory?
My best football memory, like
Yeah.
from watching a game or playing football?
Anything related to football. What is your best football related memory?
So I have 2.
I only asked
really
for
that I
one.
can. Okay, well, I have 2 that I really can't decide which one I like better.
I
So
was just joking.
So for anybody who watches football and pays attention to the Jaguars, which they probably don't because nobody does outside of Jacksonville, but in, was it the 2022 season, we were in the playoffs again for one of the first times.
In a long time.
It was the first year Doug was here as our head coach, and we were back in the playoffs, and Trevor had an awful first half.
He sure
He
did.
threw 4 picks, and we were down 27-3, and
That was totally a rough start to that game.
or no, it was 27-0, I think.
I was gonna say 27-3. Wasn't that the Super Bowl that got turned around by the Patriots versus Atlanta or something?
Yeah, 28-3.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. No Sports Ball knowing thing.
Hey, when things become popular on the internet, sometimes I see them.
Yeah, but so we were down 27-0 going into half, and I was at work, and I was trying to watch the game, and I was like, man, screw this, I'm done, right? And 20, 30 minutes go by, and I'm working, and I'm like, there's no way I can't not at least see this through. And so I walked over to the little cafe in my store, and I'm just standing there watching the TV, and it's like, bam, 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 we score. And I'm like, holy crap, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
And then we came back and we win the game. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
I know. I was totally thinking about you during that game. I think I even texted you like halftime was like, dude, sorry, your boyfriend is like sucking wind.
But then my other memory is, believe it or not, also another playoff game. It was the first year that my dad and I had season tickets in 2017. And before this, the Jaguars have sucked since 2002. Like, no question. They had one good
Totally.
year in like 2007, 2009 or something like that. And we were in the playoffs, and we went to overtime against the Chargers and hit a game-winning field goal. And it was like the stadium just went crazy. Like it was one of the best memories I can think of.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I got that way because I used to think baseball was super boring, just same as you, Hayden, like 3-4 hour game where like nothing happens essentially. Soccer too, like soccer at least you have some action,
Soccer.
but I cannot. I know it's like a huge thing for like a lot of, especially like European countries and South American countries, but I just okay. So I started watching baseball like gradually. I started watching it because Ariel would always have on the Braves because she started like when Chipper and then we're playing on the team. And I started watching right as Ronald Acuna and Ozzy and whatnot got, like, they formulated that team.
What a perfect time to start.
Right.
Dude, right. And so now I'm just like, I am not a baseball fan. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. Okay.
Yep.
I know some about other teams, but, like, I'm all about the Braves. And it's not to the point where I have to watch every game or anything like that. Like, in the beginning, Mama, I was just like you. Like, let me know when, like, the playoffs start, and then I'll start paying attention to it. I don't care about the season per se. The interesting part is when they won the World Series in 21, they were only above 500, like, toward the end of the season. And so, like, they somehow...
Now you're talking Philly style.
Right. They won the division, like, right at the end kind of deal. Like, and I was going to say, Mom, you don't necessarily like baseball. You like Bryce Harper.
So, but there have been other players, right, that I have followed along the way, and I did live in the DC area and could get to a game within 5 minutes when Bryce got drafted.
He started with the Nats, is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or like that you found him anyway?
No, that's where he started.
Okay.
And here's what I'll say. He's just a beast, right? And so it was hard not to take notice of him when he came on. So I started following him. And then when he gets traded, he goes to the Phillies, and my husband's from Philadelphia, so we follow all the Philly teams, so that was an easy thing. But there have been other players that I've loved. I mean, I'm not a huge Braves fan, but I do love Chipper,
Jason
Worth. Yeah.
That was your husband for a while.
That's my husband, yeah. For a little bit, but now I have a good husband, so...
Well, and it doesn't happen often, but just so happens that Atlanta and Philly are division rivals.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes
we
you
go
and I don't.
head.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always happy. Like, if your team wins, I'm happy for you, but I'm more happy if my team wins.
And it's kind of like in college football. So, like, if Alabama doesn't win, they root for Auburn. If Auburn doesn't win, they root for Alabama to win like the SEC championship and then go on to win the national championship.
Right. And that's it. I was raised, watching the Gators, but there are times when I'm like, okay, today I'm a Knoll, today I'm a War Eagle, whatever the case.
Keep it in
be.
the SEC, whatever.
Right. Right.
So one more thing, and then I want to move on to whatever the next nerd thing is. I don't want this whole episode to be about sports ball.
To be about sports. Apparently we nerd over sports ball.
This is news that just came out today, so it might date the episode a little bit. But, Mom, the NFL is allowing players to wear protective Guardian caps in games this year. So those stupid pads that they have on top of their helmet? Yes. They can wear those in games now.
Oh, God. Okay, moving on. I can't. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
What's your next one, Mom?
So let's change the subject, right? Because I do love me some sports and we could talk about it all day long. But the next thing that I nerd out over, and you guys know this about me too, and I really can't even explain to you how I got into this, but I so nerd out over true crime. TV shows, movies, documentaries, podcasts, whatever it is, I'm all about it. We've dubbed it kill your neighbor TV in my house because, you watch a show about how to get away with murder.
It's like
or how
kill
to,
your husband in every other household, by the way.
right. And so, and that's the thing around my house. My husband just makes sure that everybody in his life knows that, listen, if you haven't seen or heard from me in a few days, my wife is forensically a genius. So here's all the places to look, the pig farm, the slurry farm,
Stay
here's
on your
all
toes.
the things, and I can't even really remember how I got into it or what was the initial thing that grabbed me. I mean, I think that watching court TV wasn't really a thing across the nation until the OJ trial. I think that was the first really big all across the nation televised event that, literally people were given days off from work to sit and watch this.
I actually just watched the Red Thread episode most recently, the podcast that I like. They covered the OJ trial, and there's a lot more to it than I even realized.
Yeah, and so I just downloaded Ronald Goldman's dad. I can't remember his dad's first name. He has a book called I Did It. And it is his account of things, and I just downloaded that to listen to it while I drive. But they've been doing a lot of things on it recently. I think in the wake of OJ's death, it's been a topic again. But my husband hates it. So it's like 2020 True Crime ID, whatever it is. If he's like, yeah, we'll watch some killer TV, and he'll turn TV on in like the first 3 minutes. Oh, she killed her neighbor with a steak knife that she got from the boy who lives around the corner. And he's like, okay. So he'll switch to a different one because, there's like 4 or 5 channels. This is all the stuff they show. And he'll go to the next one. I'll go, right, no, she killed her husband and she put him in the back of the pickup truck and she took him out into the oil fields and he's at the bottom of a derrick. And he's like, how do you know all this? I'm like, because I've seen this. So now when he turns it on, he's like, have you seen this one? This one? Did you hear a podcast about this one? Have you read a book about this? Was there some documentary? So now we sit in front of the TV and he's like, okay, more people need to commit murder so they can have new TV.
Cheyenne
my
gets
wife
mad at
doesn't know everything.
Cheyenne gets mad at me about that kind of stuff when we're watching a movie or something.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, it's totally this, and this. She goes, how do you know? I'm like, it's just the movie trope thing. And then 5 minutes later, she's like, can you not ruin that for me?
Just shut your mouth, yeah.
Right.
So my wife is an avid book reader, so she does the same thing. She knows the plot, like, from the very beginning, whatever. Ironically, real quick, I also found out about OJ's death because I came across a meme that just said R.I.P. and it was a picture of like a gallon of orange juice and it just said April 12th.
Oh, Lord. That's poor.
But no, my wife loves the like true crime stuff. She has this girl, and Mom, I think you know about this too. There's she started like doing her makeup and telling stories, and like she would just say like this happened, all the while she's putting like makeup on or whatever.
Is it the PI girl? She tells the PI stories?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So like she has a lot like that though, that just tells stories about like this person was whacked.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, my husband will ask me that all the time. He's like, what, how did you, and I'm like, I don't know.
So
I don't know how I got into this, but much like, Cheyenne getting upset with you, that's me too. I sit down, I start watching a movie, and the minute I think I have it figured out, I have to tell everybody around me, and I'm learning to be quiet.
Yeah, I'm really bad about it.
Yeah.
So I know we said top 3, but we're getting long. So
Are we?
Yeah. Jason, you and I want to do one more maybe.
Okay. Oh, dang. My third one is really cool, though.
If we have time, we'll get to it. How about that?
Okay. I'll be fast with it. What's up, Jason? What do you nerd out over?
I mean, so like, if we're talking top, I have to revisit Star Wars because I listened to like so many audiobooks. Like I've seen all the movies. I started watching all the animated shows that I avoided before because I was just like, oh, this nonsense for children, whatever. But I don't know. You go watch like Rebels or the Clone Wars and you're like, oh no, this is totally for us. Like it's not necessarily for the kids. It's for us, There's a lot of lore in there that if you miss it, you're missing like crucial information that applies to the movies, right? So people say like, oh, this movie was terrible. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's in context because in episode 3 of season 2 of this freaking show, like, you get all nerdy like that.
That's definitely nerdy.
Yeah.
Definitely nerdy.
So my favorite character in all of Star Wars is Grand Admiral Thrawn, but a lot of people don't even know who that is.
Did you just see the look on my face?
Yeah, he's only in written content right up until the Ahsoka series.
I know who he is, and he is just an absolute badass in what he does.
In correction, he's in Rebels too.
I mean, I think it's no secret that my favorite is Obi-Wan Kenobi because man never lost.
Yeah, you and everyone else.
Man never lost. I'm so mad they made Padme fall in love with Anakin when Daddy Kenobi was right there the whole time.
Looking like a snack.
Oh my gosh. That's a different kind of obsession, Jason.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people gave Hayden Christensen a lot of grief for the way he portrayed Anakin, but like the whole direction he was given is like your life is struggle.
Right.
Like it's the whole thing, right? So he was like too old to be admitted to the Jedi Academy in the first place because he had already developed attachments and stuff. And people just don't take that type of stuff into consideration. So if you read like the novelization of the movies, you can get a whole lot more out of it. Movies is very difficult to portray everything you think is important because you can't get the introspection into the character, right? When you read a book, and I'm not advocating for reading books. I hate reading books, but I listen to audiobooks. So I'm able to get the context.
I'm not advocating for reading. I'm married to a teacher.
Yeah, that's kind of a stupid statement. So I have audiobooks because I just turn them on like while I'm working or whatever, and I just let them play, And so you get the like behind the scenes, you get into the character's mind and like what's their motivation. And it just gives a whole new context to what's happening.
Yeah. I'm so glad that Hayden Christensen got the recognition finally that he needed for that role, because like the prequels came out, everybody hated his performance, and then when it was announced that he was coming back to the Kenobi series, everybody was happy.
Everybody was super excited.
At D23 and stuff like that, he got the biggest applause ever and stuff like that. Because like it's one of those things where like it just has to sit with people for a long enough time, and 3 worse movies have to come out for people to really appreciate it.
Exactly. And this is what happens in pretty much any fandom, because Destiny is the same way. Something happens or like something is published and people are just like, this is terrible, sucks. You give it 5 or 6 years and people are like, where was the good old days? Back when the thing that we hated came out.
Yeah.
Like, you just pick one. Like fandoms flip flop all the time. Yeah, and it's so annoying.
Yeah. All right, Hayden, what's something else you nerd out over?
My second one is it's a more recent thing that I've gotten back into, I feel like, is Fallout with the show that came out.
So really, I feel like you guys are just obsessed with video games.
Yeah, I know.
You're 100%
Absolutely.
correct. I mean, I could have gone like Splinter Cell. I could have gone Metal Gear Solid. I could have gone Halo. I could have done it forever and ever and ever.
Got it.
There's just so much deep lore in the expanded universe of games.
Anyway, it's Fallout. Because with the show that came out recently, I started watching, and then I went and re-downloaded Fallout 4, and I'm so back into the lore and storyline of the universe.
You said the thing, the common, we're so back.
We're so back.
You said the new term.
We're so back.
We're so back.
But
I guess I'm about to learn how to play video games.
But I mean, like, it's just, it's an interesting concept of, like, it's split from our world in the early 60s when, like, or I guess the 40s, 60s to 40s, somewhere in there, where, like, we discovered atomic bombs and nuclear power and stuff like that, of, like, we kept advancing technology to the point where, like, we've outpaced that in a sense, where we don't really rely on that, where in that universe, they full force into nuclear technology now. And it ended up that 2077, they ran out of resource, like natural resources, like oil and stuff. And there was what's called the Great War, and the bombs flew, and now it's just a wasteland. But like, it's so interesting, and like everything runs on nuclear power. So like, they don't have gas stations, they have coolant stations, which is just like an interesting detail when you can notice walking around the world and stuff like that. And just the whole thing of like, in the early 2000s, America annexed Canada and Mexico to become like this super state.
Oh wow.
Like, it's just cool to see like a different perspective of like where the world could have gone based off of like just a few key decisions.
Yeah, make sure you stock up on your bottle caps just in case.
Yeah.
I have a confession. So when I get the little pop-up thing that says you've logged on and it's like says what game you're playing, right? And it says you're playing Fallout. What is the one where the little dude is just trying to get through life and he like falls off the edge of stuff? It's like a little super animated, like he's just like a stick body.
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
I thought it was
The only thing I can think of that matches your description is Humans Fall Flat.
Yeah, but they're not a stick figure. They're like blobs.
Yeah,
Like a
they are
blob, yeah.
blobs. Yeah, like this white
Yeah,
blob.
it's Humans Fall Flat. I
Oh,
think
is that
what
what
you're
it's
thinking.
called? Okay, see, for some reason I thought that was called Fallout. And every time I see you log on, I think that's what you're doing. And then I have to remind myself, yeah, no.
No, I actually love Humans Fall Flat because there's puzzle games, but like the physics are just weird, so your
Yeah.
guy's just like stumbling all over the place.
Yeah.
It's
Is
so
it like
fun.
these
It's like
little
he's
dudes?
drunk.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Fallout, Hayden. I prefer like the Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim
Yeah,
and Oblivion. Which
that's another
ironically,
one that I'm into too, but it's just Fallout's that more like recent. Like I'm more into this right now.
no, I get it. And ironically, like I shouldn't even like those games because I hate like inventory management or like juggling all kinds of different skills. But somehow I got attached to this game. Just because Matthew used to play them all the damn time.
Yeah, Fallout 4 in particular though, because it's the first of any of those Bethesda games that has settlement building
Yeah.
and like management of that, and that's like the games that I love the most is like city builder, settlement management, like style games. Like in Madden,
Takes you back to SimCity.
yeah, like in Madden, I won't even like I'll play the actual game, but I just like to build the team and
I like building team. Yeah.
yeah, and sim through and see if they can go undefeated.
Yay, sports ball.
Yay,
100% full circle.
Okay, wait. I want to do one more because this one is special.
Okay.
Is it you?
No, but it
You're
should be.
special.
No. What is the one? So I love music. I love music because, we talked about this when it was like, are you giving up music or movies or whatever? And I was like, I just can't give up music. So we all know that I am a super fan of Springsteen. And so he might even outrank my other he's definitely higher than the Baby Spoons, but I nerd out over his music, his just like I know all kinds of stuff. I have seen him in concert officially now 29 times, which I think
That's
is
insane.
which I think
Yeah.
is a little
I don't even think
obsessive.
you nerd out. I think you fangirl out. Like you're one of those that like,
Right. Well, and here's the thing, and I've said this before in the past, like I don't really get fangirly. I don't gush just because somebody is famous, right? They
Yeah.
just happen to have a job that puts them in the
Right.
public eye. I get fangirly over people who are incredibly talented. And he is
Yep.
one of those people. And I can't even remember how I fell into him other than I skipped school in the 10th grade to stand. This is what you used to do, stand online in the department store at the Ticketmaster outlet to buy tickets to see the Born to Run tour I'm sorry, not Born to Run, Born in the USA tour in Tallahassee. And my mom had no idea I skipped school. She had no idea I went to the concert. Ironically enough, my now husband was at that concert. We didn't know each other. But
What?
right,
That's crazy.
isn't that crazy?
Wow.
We have a lot of weird things, right?
Look at God.
I know it,
Huh.
right? God knew way back then.
Did you drive there in your pink Cadillac?
No. But I desperately wanted to share this as one of the things that I nerd out about because this harkens back to what I was saying to you, Hayden, about sometimes it just has to do with how you are raised, the home or the environment that you're raised in and the things that your parents expose you to. Because I had the only kids under 10 that knew every word to every song on the Nebraska album, right? Because y'all had no choice because that's what we listened to.
Yeah.
And, I distinctly remember, Hayden, when you were like 5 or 6 years old, you were like, I want to know all the Bruce Springsteen music, because Dakota and I would sing and dance around in the car. Yeah.
We would belt.
Yeah. And you're like, I want to. And I think, we went to a couple concerts together and Hayden, you were like, I want to go to a Springsteen concert with you guys. That would be so dope. And I'm like, okay, great. Next time he goes on tour, I'll take you. And then COVID hit and everything shut down. Right.
Yeah. I had to wait 6 years.
Right. But what, and that's why I wanted to share this one, because this has to be one of the greatest although it was uniquely different from what I had in my head because so much time had gone by and, a lot of things had changed in life. But to be able to say, I took my kids to see what arguably is probably Springsteen's last tour. I was able to take my kids and share that with them, and they knew the music, and we
Yep.
had things to talk about, and that to me was just a really big cool thing. So that, Springsteen's the third thing I nerd out over, but being able to share it with you guys is what makes it super special. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Springsteen. Like Tunnel of Love, Glory Days, Lonesome Day, Born to Run, Thunder Road,
Yeah.
Rosalita.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah. I love Lonesome Day. It's one of my favorites.
Mine too.
Oh my gosh. And then the song we found that we danced to at Hayden's wedding, Call My Name. I love that one.
Yeah.
I listen to that one a lot. But anyways.
Yeah, I liked Radio Nowhere, and for the life of me, can't remember the song that he did about the 9/11 memorial.
The Rising.
The Rising. That's it.
That's one of my favorites.
That's
That's one of my favorites. Yeah. He just, I don't know. I have a lot of respect. He plays like all the instruments, writes all the music, just, and there are plenty of artists that do that. Prince is another one that just, I would fangirl out over because they're just so extremely talented.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're close on time. I saw the eyeball. Our producer has like this meth eyeball.
Excuse me.
Yes, too. But before we get out of here, since we were on a hiatus last week because we had our special guest.
There's some sort of mischief happening?
Yes. Yes. I love the monkey mischief. I'd have to add that to my nerd out list. So here you go. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
How does a farmer find new cows to purchase?
How that?
He looks through a catalog.
Ah.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. I kind of went just way in a totally different direction than what I had in my mind, but I love when the conversation just happens kind of organically behind us and we get to share stories and a few laughs. And that is kind of what I alluded to in the beginning as I told our little tale of our faithful monkeys coming together. Thank you guys for being here today. And thank you to the listeners that have stuck around. If you like what you heard today, be sure you're following us on social media, but more importantly, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast. For now, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Later, people.
Is somebody on their phone by chance?
No, I saw the in audience. What does that
I
even
don't
mean?
know.
What?
Somebody's
audience?
in the audience.
Who's in our audience?
Maybe it's a monkey fan.
One in the audience? Who is that?
I didn't even know that was possible.